So Buddhist meditation and practice is really aimed at freedom, and yeah, well, more often than not, freedom is kind of defined as our kind of political and civil liberties, isn't it? And these is obviously really important. But what we mean in freedom as here is a kind of freedom from any limitations within our selves. So what limits us is the name of this series. So if you tuned in last week and didn't get a live stream, a lot of us have been on retreat. In fact, the friends that I'm with here today, we've just been on an online retreat together. So we've been exploring what's been limiting us over the week, and also what's inspired us. So yeah, what limits us is an interesting question. We're going to look tonight at kind of habits, behaviours and habits that are kind of holding us back, particularly the habits of superficiality and of vagueness. So first of all, I'm just going to say a little bit what I mean by habits. So how it's defined is the tendency or disposition to act in a particular way, or even actually to kind of be in a particular way. Habits are effect of kind of cumulative actions. Yeah, they're kind of actions over time, and so if we keep carrying on those actions, well, the habit strengthens. So we kind of know that, don't we? But I suppose one of the questions is, well, how well do we know that? Do we actually live our life in that way, where we actually know that our habits, the way we are in our life, can be changed, you know, and whether we're either strengthening those habits, contribute to them, or forming new habits. So breaking habits is, or softening habits, maybe is a better way to put it, is also a question of action. And so what kind of action are we talking about? Well, from a Buddhist point of view, the action is kind of getting to know oneself more fully, seeing oneself more clearly, so that we can start to make creative decisions and not being just constantly kind of in this treadmill, in this kind of grip of, well, just how we do things, how we go about things ordinarily. So not trapped in these repetitive cycles that sometimes are so kind of painful in a way. Yeah, so from a Buddhist point of view, one of the key kind of teachings, one of the key things that's been got at is that we're not fixed in ourselves, we're not fixed, and neither are we separate, neither are we kind of independent of one another. Our thoughts, feelings and so on are not kind of contained just neatly within this box of our body. We're constantly influencing and being influenced by well, the conditions around us, but often really the people around us. So meditation is primarily about getting to know ourselves, kind of seeing how we are. We're often more than we think we are as well. It's a kind of seeing how we are can kind of give rise to kind of more. Yeah, we can touch into kind of more. We can touch into both the kind of heights of ourselves and the depth. So we start to inhabit a broader kind of bandwidth of ourselves. Yeah. So so meditation is really about getting to know ourselves in a way that in itself is the transformative kind of ingredient. It's not like there's this separate, we get to know ourselves and then we do something to transform ourselves. Getting to know ourselves in a way is the transformative ingredient. It is the kind of magic elixir of transformation. So we can change, and that kind of affects the world around us. So in fact, it affects how we perceive the world. Our world changes, in fact, on the basis of that. So tonight I'm going to talk about two really deep-seated patterns of behaviour or habit that I'm imagining we're all going to find really kind of familiar. I find them familiar. I'm definitely not exempt from these patterns of behaviour, and I'm sure you will find them familiar as well. So we're going to investigate those. We can investigate them in our lives generally, but they can really be got at through meditation. They can really start, so we can really see them at work in meditation. Yeah? And the habits I'm talking about are these habits of superficiality and the habits of vagueness. So habits of superficiality and habits of vagueness. If you want to know how we're going to investigate those, just hold on because we're going to just get into that in a short little while. What we're going to do first of all is, well, first of all, I just want to welcome you to the live stream. My name's Mike Trinara. For those of you that don't know, I'm a teacher at the Brixton Buddhist community. I'm here with friends in Etherspace. Most of us have just been, like I said, on retreat together, on this online retreat for a week. So we're still kind of riding high from, well, both the challenge and some of the kind of, well, the positivity that's kind of come out of doing a retreat. If you're new to these live streams, yeah, very, very warm welcome. The best thing to do is to press the subscribe button on your YouTube, and then you'll just be kept up to date with everything that's going to be that we're going to be putting out. And the other thing is, please do say who you are. So you can go in the chat box and just let me know who you are, who's out there, who's listening to the live stream. Really be good to know, and I can give a shout out to you as well. So do let me know if you're out there listening. So yeah, just so before we do that, let's do a short body scan together. Let's do a body scan so that we can really kind of arrive, be present to this kind of, well, what I'm framing as a kind of investigation of ourselves in a way, a kind of exploration of ourselves. So we'll do a little body scan. Just set yourselves up in a normal meditation posture. And if you're at home, yeah, just kind of set yourself up. If you're in a chair or if you're on a sofa, do kind of try and sit up kind of comfortably, but kind of sitting up under your own steam is quite good. So quite a kind of lengthening up through the body. So we lengthen up through the body, but then we just relax. We just settle into our sitting posture, just settling in. And the first thing we can notice with our eyes closed is experience changes quite a bit. So you might start to be more aware of your senses. You might be more aware of the sounds around you. Even this sense of space around you, space in the room you're in and beyond. And the sounds just kind of coming in and out, or maybe just staying kind of ambient. And then within this wide open space, we can just feel our bodies. So we can feel particularly our body weight pressing into the floor, pressing into the cushions or the chair or sofa that you're on. It's something we can actually feel. So we can feel our body weight dropping into the floor. And then just start to notice if you're holding any tension around the eyes, around the forehead, and often looking at the screen can give us that slightly tensed Okay, so see if you can just start to soften your gaze behind your eyelids, softening your gaze, allowing the forehead to soften. And just allowing the muscles around the mouth and jaw to soften. Noticing then the space of the shoulders. See if you can allow the shoulders to soften and relax down the back. And then noticing your legs, particularly around the thighs. Noticing any gripping, any holding on. So you can just start to let the legs start to relax down into the ground. And then noticing your tummy, softening in the area of the tummy. And just then start to notice the breath moving in your body, moving around the chest. Staying with the breath, just allowing that to soften the body, to ease the body. And then coming back into contact with the weight of your body on the ground. And just this sense of connection with the other people, meditating together in the room or on the stream. Okay, good. So I'm just going to check if we got any shout outs here. I'm just going to sort the technology out. Okay, great. So we've got some people out there, so good to see you. Good to see you, Jane. Good evening to you. And Ian, good to see you. Got Joe and Chris is here. Oh, hiya, Harriet. Harriet was on retreat with us as well. Glad you come on the stream. Hi, Alex. Alex is going to be running the Zoom later. Good to have you with us as well. Okay, so yeah, and welcome everyone here in the class. It's slightly disconcerting, I have to say, because this is the first class we've done while everybody's got their mask on. I'm the only one that's doesn't have to wear my mask. Everyone else is wearing masks, so it's a little strange. I'm going to see how it goes. So we'll see how it goes. So I started to talk a little bit about habits, didn't I? Yeah. So just settle yourselves in a relaxed posture. Just going to talk for a little bit. I started to talk about habits as something we form, even something we become. So there's this sense of kind of accumulative action that we're performing. So it's not kind of passive thing. It's something that we're actually kind of doing. Yeah. The two habits that I'm going to talk about, which I'm sure you're gonna get a bit of a flavour of, is they're both in a way. You could say they're both habits which are avoidance, make us avoidant of commitment, make us avoidant of kind of wholeheartedly giving ourselves to anything. And meditation's no different. In fact, like I say, I've mentioned it a couple of times. We've been on retreat together, and the retreat leaders were talking about any time you commit to something, you confront yourself. Yeah, so committing to anything, you confront yourself. And what they mean by that is that, not in a kind of combative way. You don't kind of confront yourself in that way, but you kind of your habits will start to push back. So anytime you commit to something, your habits will push back, because of course we're not always wholeheartedly giving ourselves to the thing that we're committing ourselves to. So the habits will push back. Those parts of ourselves that don't want to commit, don't want to give ourselves to whatever it is, even learning piano, any kind of sport, anything like that. We might just start to come up with reasons why that's something that we can't do or we don't want to do. Yeah. You start to confront yourself. Those habits will start to present themselves. So what we're looking for is a sense of kind of honesty, in a way, of just being able to see those habits as they emerge. Yeah. Start to see those habits as they emerge. And they might be quite surprising sometimes. We often have quite a particular idea of ourselves. We hold an idea, even an image of ourselves in a particular way. And sometimes habits will start to impinge on us that feel, they don't kind of fit who we want, how we want to think of ourselves. So that might be something that happens. We start to get habits, notice things about ourselves that we don't want to quite acknowledge. But I don't want to give the impression that it's only difficult. Getting to know ourselves, getting to know these habits, these habits of mind that exert themselves, is also very enjoyable. So we noticed that on retreat, people talked about it as a challenge, but they also talked about it as a real joy, kind of a liberation, a freedom, sense of vividness, openness that can come when we start to kind of articulate ourselves more clearly, both to ourselves and to others. Yeah. So seeing ourselves as both, so it's both challenging, but it's also very enjoyable, and it gives a sense of kind of purpose. So why wouldn't we do that? Well, habit is something that we know, something familiar, something well-worn, and often, we don't want to engage with habits. We might find them strangely painful, our habits. Might find them strangely, often discomforting, uncomfortable, but they're familiar. They're familiar, and starting to kind of really look at those habits and start to get at them can often feel like something we don't want to do. We'd rather kind of stay with the familiar. So that's a little bit of background, so just a bit of a setting the tone for looking at these two habits. So the first one I want to talk about is superficiality. So I'm just going to say what it says in the dictionary about superficiality. It says, of relating to being near or forming the surface, hence displaying a lack of thoroughness and care, and being only outwardly apparent rather than genuine or actual. So acting from the surface of ourselves without any thoroughness or care, often quite interested in the outward appearance of what we're doing. Why would we do that? Well, Bhante Sangharakshita, who founded this movement, he says we do that because we're divided. We're divided in ourselves. We have this rather conscious mind, that kind of commonsensical mind, constantly making sense of everything for us, making sense of our world. And then we have the emotional depths. And often they're not kind of working, they're not joined up. Yeah, they're not joined up. So we kind of act in a kind of way that's just kind of a part of ourselves, a kind of surface area of ourselves, not joined up to the kind of more emotional element of ourselves. And in this way, we can just easily not be wholehearted. So, we really saw that on this retreat. This superficiality is a real part of modern day life, because we were being asked, we were being encouraged to turn off our devices, weren't we? Turn off or at least reduce the amount of input on our phones and so on. Of course, paradoxically, the retreat was online, so we were engaging more with screens. But we were trying to reduce stimulus in other areas of our lives, yeah. And there's something about that makes you more available. Something about it makes you more available and stops your mind from being on the surface. Yeah, so we can start to get into more interesting ideas, be more receptive to interesting ideas of the Dharma. So we can see this in meditation, this habit of superficiality, especially when we're kind of just going through the motions. We might have all had that. I'm sure we've all had that. I have that. When I just kind of go through the motions, I kind of know the practice, I know the mindfulness of breathing, I know the metta bhavana. In fact, if you don't know those practices, you can find out about the basis of those practices on our channel. So just kind of go. You can have a look and really find out the foundations of those practices. But once you've learned them, after a while, it's really good to learn them kind of thoroughly. But after a while, you start to can just kind of sit down and just go through the motions. Okay, now I'm counting the breath, now I'm doing this, now I'm doing that, without any real kind of feeling for what's going on. Yeah, we're just kind of going through the motions. And I think one of the things that keeps us from kind of that keeps us slightly rigid, is a kind of almost a fear of going into, or a reticence of going into deeper into our experience. Yeah, so we can kind of rely on the form. We kind of get stuck on the form, and we start to we're not open, we're not receptive to what's actually happening. Well, what's kind of actually happening now in my experience? What's actually the breath actually feel like now? What's the metta? What's happening now in this kind of cave of my heart, or the well of my heart, as they were talking about it in the on the retreat? Kind of what's happening now? Maybe there's not much. Maybe we're trying to hark back to previous times when we'd had a strong experience. We're kind of caught in the form. And we need to, when that starts to happen, it can start to feel a bit dry, a bit kind of surface, a bit like there's not really much happening here. And what do we need to do then? We need to kind of relax a little bit from the form and start to notice what's there. Yeah, start to notice, well, particularly sensations. Start to notice, become receptive to sensations. Start to kind of feel our way into them. And kind of start to grope about a little bit in this this kind of mysterious world of our kind of meditative experience. Yeah, kind of touch back into a little bit of the wonder of, well, this is so strange. This is so strange. Consciousness is so strange. Here I am breathing. What's that kind of actually like? You know, so we can start to relax a bit of the form and start to feel our way into openness and receptivity. Yeah? So, and that's, that holds true for superficiality in all areas of our life. We need to, we can get caught up, another thing we can get caught up in shoulds. I should be doing it like this. I've been taught to do it like this. This is the right way to do it. And we can start to give ourselves license after any little while of meditating. We start to give ourselves license to go slightly off-piste, to slightly kind of feel our way into the practice, and stop being so caught on the form. And really, like I say, this holds true in any area of our lives. If we're feeling life running kind of mundane and shallow, then it's time to kind of feel our way into that. Well, what does feeling mundane and shallow, what does it feel like? That's part of consciousness as well. What does that feel like? And start to explore in that way. Yeah? So I'm going to touch into that in the meditation, how to explore in that way in the guided meditation that we're going to be doing shortly. I want to talk about this other area as well, which is not unrelated. Yeah, it feels like, in a way, it feels like the other pole of superficiality, and we're calling it vagueness. We're calling it vagueness. Vagueness, we might all feel we know what it is, but here's a kind of little bit of a recap. Vagueness is vague, woolly, cloudy, indistinct, undecided, a reticence to commit. And I'm going to talk about it as a kind of dishonesty. We're kind of keeping our options open. We're just keeping our options open. We don't want to commit. We want to keep different lines of interests, maybe all kinds of social groups going. We kind of can drift and oscillate between ideas about different philosophies and the way things are. And we can do all that with an idea that we're kind of open, that we're relaxed, that we don't need form, we don't need structure. But in a way, it's a way of just a reticence to think clearly, to actually look clearly at what's happening in our experience, yeah, to be able to then articulate that to ourselves and to others. And particularly in meditation, it's about a vagueness of our experience, yeah. So we're not committing to anything. We're keeping our options open. And what does it do? Well, that stops us having to confront ourselves. I was saying earlier about commitment being like, and people on this retreat were saying, things come up. What does it mean when they come up? It means things which have been pushed down, which hadn't been taken account of, which hadn't been habits which hadn't been kind of properly looked at, start to emerge, start to come more strongly into our experience. If we're vague, if we keep it all open, if we keep it all unstructured, if we don't commit, we can. It's another way of kind of avoiding or seeing how we are. And meditation, as I said before, is about seeing ourselves more clearly. That's the elixir of transformation. It's not like we see ourselves more clearly and then we transform. That's the quicksilver of transformation, seeing ourselves more clearly. So how do we recognise vagueness? So how do we recognise vagueness in our experience? Well, we can recognise it as being a bit drifty, a bit kind of, a bit cloudy, a bit vague, a bit kind of unable to pin our attention down to anything particular. We can start to be unsure if is it the right practice. Am I doing the practice in the right way? Is this even the right practice for me to be doing today? Maybe I'm doing the metta bhavana, but maybe I should be doing the mindfulness of breathing. Yeah. So we start to proliferate. We start to kind of become vague. Maybe we start doing a kind of strange hybrid. We don't want to commit to a course of action. And underpinning all that is kind of doubt. We kind of are unsure. We're unsure or even of whether, like, does this work? you know, is this the right, is meditation working today? Maybe I should just go for a walk in the park. I'm not sure this is working. Yeah. So it's really quite pernicious, kind of undermining our attention, undermining any attempt to see things more clearly, more fully. Yeah? So what's the antidote for that? The antidote, in a way, for vagueness is recollecting, well, why we're doing something. Yeah, might not need to be as kind of bold as that. Might not need to be as kind of such a clear thought as that. Why am I doing it? But you're touching. You want to touch in your experience the reason why you're meditating. So if you meditate on the Metta Bhavana, well, it's painful to be separate. It's so painful to be separate from other people. To feel ourselves as separate, aloof, averse. Yeah. We can just get a flavour of that in our minds. Yeah? Touch. Okay, that's why I want to do this practice. Yeah, that's why I want to do this practice. That's why for the course of this meditation, I want to commit to this practice. Yeah? So we need to touch into our purpose. Yeah, touch into our purpose of why we're doing the thing that we're doing. Okay, so there's a little bit there about habits, about how they're formed out of action, and meditation is an action as well. Yeah, I'm not going to emphasise in this guided meditation the action element. I'm going to emphasise the receptive element. Yeah, this kind of feeling into our experience. But I'm also going to just nudge us if we're getting vague, yeah? If we're kind of blobbing out, if we're vaguing out, if we're drifting, yeah? So receptivity is still a kind of, there's still a kind of awareness involved with it, yeah? You know that is what you're doing, yeah? In a way you kind of know that that's what you're doing. So I'm going to just keep kind of making sure we don't fall into vagueness, pulling us back towards this kind of exploration, this kind of feeling our way into our experience. Yeah? So we'll do that. We'll do that in a minute. It'll be a guided meditation for about 20 minutes, and then we'll have a chance to ask questions. Yeah? So we'll have a chance to gather comments or questions. All right? Okay. So yeah, so let's just settle back into meditation postures. So if you're happy to, just closing your eyes. And as soon as you close your eyes, get in touch with your physical experience. Physical, energetic experience of your body. Does your body feel comfortable or uncomfortable? Does your body feel restless, a bit kind of agitated? Maybe it feels soft, open. So from a sense of our overall body, just noticing that connection with the ground. Noticing what that's like. To be in connection with the ground in that way. And now with our eyes closed and away from the screen, we can just soften our gaze And soften our foreheads. And then just noticing any gripping, any holding in the shoulders. And seeing if we can just start to soften, start to let go of the shoulders. And again, noticing the thighs, noticing your legs. And just letting the thighs soften, so you can give the weight of your legs down into the floor. So just kind of keep doing that. And then noticing the area of your tummy. Is there any holding on in the tummy? And don't make a problem of it, just noticing any holding. And seeing by bringing your attention into the area of the tummy, whether you can soften and start to let go. And noticing the area of the chest, the heart center. Noticing the breath. The front of the chest and the back of the chest, back of the rib cage. Just feeling the breath moving in the body. Smoothing the body, just calming down. And then bringing our attention down into the area of the heart. The heart center, the middle of the chest. And just exploring, well, what sensations can we find? What's present? It's been described as the well of our heart. Just feeling what's present. And if there's nothing much there to feel, we're just feeling that. So we're just feeling our way into the sensations. And don't worry if your mind wanders off, it's fine. Just come back to the breathing body. The sensations present. Just noticing any subtle holding on. Any subtle tensioning. Just breathing. To this area of the heart centre. So just staying with the sensations there. And if we go off, it's fine. Just coming back to the physical experience, energetic experience, almost the grainy, close-up experience. Feeling for any slight fluctuations of sensation, any subtlety. looking at clouds, really starting to see the shape and texture and movement. Just staying with the sensations of the body around the chest centre. And if you get pulled away, that's fine, just coming back to this sense, that awareness, cultivating awareness, I experience, is absolutely fundamental. Just noticing also any subtle holding or tensioning. Keep softening in the body. Just feeling our way into subtlety. Just allowing thoughts to come and go as they will. Sounds around you to come and go as they will. You can let that all be there. Back to what we can actually touch. So a simple practice of just touching into sensations of the breath and the emotion of the breath. And starting to spread out into the whole of your body now. See if you can take into account, start to permeate the whole of your body, your awareness. Just keep softening any tension. Just keep letting go. The meaning of the practice is just there in the way we touch into the sensations of the body. And just coming back to feeling yourself grounded, wherever you are in your chair, on the sofa, or here in every space. Just kind of feel yourself grounded, feeling other people around you, meditating together. Okay, good. So please do gather up any questions now. We've got about 10 minutes. Just gathering up any questions or any comments that you might have about meditation, whatever, just whatever you experience. If you did if you did notice any habits of superficiality or vagueness creeping in, I know I did. I'm a bit tired today. I caught some of those strands, caught some of those threads in my meditation. So yeah, I'd be interested to hear what you have to say about that. While we're gathering those together, I'm just going to say a quick thank you, really, which is, well, like I've been mentioning tonight, I've been on retreat with lots of the members of the Brixton community, some people that are really new to our community, along with joined up retreat with lots of other communities across UK and Ireland. And people have been expressing their gratitude for what's happened on that retreat, and part of the way they've been expressing it is through their generosity and their financial generosity. So, I've made a thank you video actually, so do check that out. It's up on the YouTube channel, thanking people for their expressions of gratitude their financial expressions of gratitude. So just to say, this month, it's been really, we've been really supported this month, together with the standing orders that people have been making ready, and the one-off gifts from the retreat. We're up to £2,649 this month. So it's really going to go a long way to supporting Brixton Buddhist community. So thanks very much, everybody who's helped us to get to that. Okay, so let's get into any questions. So we've got some time. So yeah, if anybody at home, if you've got any questions, just put them in the chat. But I was just wondering, you guys, if you can unmask if you got a question, so you get a chance to. It's a bonus because you get a chance to air your face as well for a moment. So yeah, so have we got any questions?
I was just wondering about if there's a difference between kind of like revelations and distractions. You get sort of visual pictures and you kind of softly want to move them away, but sometimes you actually feel like you discovered something.
Yeah.
Is there a way of telling the difference?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Because that can be really fascinating, can't it? You know, images or even ideas about, what's happening in your experience, ideas about yourself. So it's a really good question, actually. I don't think there's like a definitive answer or one way or the other. I think it's really important to give space to images and kind of arisings in your meditation. But then you just watching out for the discursive quality that can come in on the back of that, if you see what I mean. So images that come in can be really important. They can be kind of, in a way, they can also sometimes be almost like, I was saying about that rational mind and that emotional mind, it can almost be sometimes like a kind of, that all kind of coming together and creating something that's kind of meaningful to you. So I think you should give that space. Stay with awareness and stay with that if that's something interesting is occurring. But just watch what so quickly jumps in on the back of that, which is that kind of discursive, oh, this is what this means about me, or this is what this means, and that's going to be the part that takes you out of the meditation. After all, as I've been saying, meditation is about knowing ourselves, and sometimes images and arisings in us are really, really important. They're kind of parts of ourselves or aspects of ourselves kind of come into the fore in a way, so we can start to see ourselves more clearly in that way. So I wouldn't be averse to that. I wouldn't be averse to that when that's happening. But yeah, just watching out for what follows that whole discursive chain of what this means about me and what does this mean,
So you think the interpretation kind of breaks the flow of the intention of meditation?
I would watch. There's sometimes a kind of reflective mode in meditation where a thought might occur to you that seems really quite important, something kind of comes to the fore. And that can be that has a certain quality to it. But discursive is like, like you start, that kind of, your normal kind of mind starts kind of asserting itself and appropriating those deeper arisings. So in a way, one has to kind of learn to start sifting through what's kind of meaningful and what's me just kind of appropriating that, or kind of getting into this discursiveness about it. Yeah. I don't know if that's it. Does that kind of answer your question? Yeah.
There's one chat.
Chat, okay. Oh, hi Jane. Jane, I talked to Jane on the retreat. She's doing her exam. She's saying she's finding it hard to concentrate because she keeps thinking about her exams. Any advice when you are preoccupied? Well, that's a very good question. I think the main thing is that to come back, trying to come back into your direct experience, yeah? You won't be able to bludgeon your way out of your preoccupations, yeah? You're going to have to work kind of a bit cleverly with them, yeah? So if you've got exams, you've got a lot of things that want to keep pushing themselves to the fore. In a certain way, it's a bit like what I was saying, just saying to you, Rachel. You know, what you're trying to do is stay in touch with the body, stay in touch with your direct experience, and notice what feeling preoccupied feels like. Yeah, so it's kind of like, you know, just get in touch with the kind of, well, if that's an anxiety, trying to touch that. And you know, by kind of noticing what that feels like in the body, you might start to get a sense of kind of softening. If you can start to get a sense of what's underlying that kind of preoccupation, that kind of drive to think your way through things. If you can get kind of some of the emotion that's underneath that, you can start to kind of work with. You start to kind of feel the quality of that, start to even have a feel like maybe of softening into that. And then what might happen is you might start, your preoccupations might start to just kind of recede or kind of soften or become a little bit more peripheral to you. So you can't bludgeon your way in, you can't just go like, right, breath, because you'll just ping out again into preoccupation. Force your way in, and you'll be forced out again. So you have to kind of try and work out, well, what kind of get underneath those preoccupations. Yeah, they're quite present in your experience. Well, what's going on underneath then, and see if you can kind of feel that in the body. See if you can keep softening into that in the body. Okay, so I hope that's helpful, Jane. I hope you get on well with your exams as well. My iPad has just died here, so if there are any more questions, Jack, you're going to have to tell me. So I've got maybe time for one more question from one of you guys. Anything about that meditation?
I just noticed when I've got really big earrings, so they're really hard to get off those baseballs. Anyway, I was just noticing that I've got a habit of vagueness. So, and that in a certain way, because I've had a very busy day and it's been hot and there's a lot on my mind, when I came to the meditation, I hadn't really decided to meditate. And then I was noticing, okay, we'll decide to meditate, and then I kind of come out again, and then I'm thinking, oh no, I'll decide to meditate again. So I could see that habit of just wanting to be vague and space out. And I was just wondering if you wanted to say anything about, or just how to sort of decide to meditate, or how to bring your mind back into motivation to want to actually do the meditation.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I could have said that at the beginning of the meditation. You know, like setting your intention in meditation is quite important, because one of the main things you need to do is when you close your eyes, you need to have decided to meditate. Because if you don't, you're very, very quickly going to go off on whatever habitual energy is kind of most at play at that time, whether it be vagueness, anxiety, or planning, or whatever it is. So sitting down to meditate does require a kind of intentionality about it. So I think you could, sit down and for me personally, I think I close my eyes. I want to try and get straight in touch with something. Yeah. If I sit back and think, okay, I've got my eyes closed now. What am I gonna do? It almost like paves the way for all that momentum for those other things, those other forces that have been in play all day. So kind of just to start to assert themselves. So the main thing is to sit back and either become aware of something, yeah? Either we can become aware of the sounds around us, we can decide to do that, or we can become aware of the body, but we're trying to become aware of something, yeah? So I think, and then the kind of habit of awareness can at least have a chance of start to assert itself into whatever's actually happening. So yeah, the question of vagueness was you were saying about that. The other thing I'd say, and I think I did mention it briefly, which is that you can touch into the purpose of the meditation. Yeah. So if you're doing the mindfulness of breathing, that's really about getting in touch with, well, really getting to know oneself, really building some confidence in becoming aware of what's happening in your experience. And that's really, really important. Without that, we're just going through our day on autopilot. We're just going through our day at kind of as flotsam and jetsam to our kind of habitual energies and the various stresses and strains of life. So without bringing attention to understanding what's happening in our internal world, and kind of being cognizant to what's happening, being present to what's happening around us, we're just going to get thrown around all day. So that's really important to do that. So we can touch into well, the importance of doing that. You know, if we get lost in the meditation, we can touch into, well, the fact that we're just strengthening our habitual energy of getting lost. You know, we're just giving fuel to that. So whatever we're giving our attention to, we're kind of fueling that, powering that. And what we're trying to do in the mindfulness of breathing, for example, is power kind of our interest in our experience, our curiosity, our interest, our exploration of our experience. In the Bhavana, it's like, you know, it's no different. We're trying to, we touched into the well of the heart there, which was the image that was being used on the retreat. On that one, you're really, you know, in the Bhavana, well, it's the pain of separation, the pain of being, separate and, you know, averse and other. So that's really important. You know, you could bring that to mind. That's not how I want to be in my life. Well, when am I going to stop that? Well, it's now in meditation. You know, you don't have to go through that whole thought process, but, you know, kind of synthesize it somehow for yourself, and then you know, kind of feel your way back in. You know, so that's a way of kind of giving yourself some directionality. Okay, so I think we've actually run over. So I just want to thank everybody. Thank Jack here on the tech, working hard to get all the camera angles, get the dynamometer up, which I forgot. Thanks for that, Jack. And thanks all you guys for coming, being part of the class. So now in about 10 minutes, we're going to start the Zoom session. Well, actually at 1:45, so you've got time to have a cup of tea, stretch your legs, go to the toilet, and then Alex is going to host the Zoom session. The Zoom session, if you haven't been on it, you'll find the links in the chat box. It's just a chance. It's other people in the Brixton Buddhist community of all levels of experience just getting together, talking about meditation and getting into what is this practice of meditation, and getting into comments, reflections on that. Yeah. So do go along to the Zoom and check it out. Okay, so for now, I just wish everyone a very warm evening. It is a very warm evening. Wish you a very good evening. Good night.